I'm Kyle Bratcher. I'm the district fish biologist here in the Wallowa district. So I am the manager for the Grande Ronde, Wallowa, and Naha and Snake Rivers here in Oregon. So I cover everything basically from the Snake River to the border of Washington up in this corner of the state.
Tell me about fly fishing for steelhead in the Snake River Basin. What's different up here than, say, fly fishing for steelhead on the Oregon coast?
Sure. So as far as Oregon goes, we only have A-run steelhead in the Snake River Basin. So we don't A-run summer fish. So we don't have any winter steelhead up here, even though it's obviously winter out here. These are all summer steelhead, so they've entered the Columbia Basin in July into September. And so that's all we're fishing for here is summer steelhead. Our season typically kicks off in late September, early October. So today we're on the Wallowa River. This fishery really gets going towards the end of February. It's our primary place where we release hatchery fish in the Grande Ronde Basin. So above here there's hatchery and enterprise, and then actually below us there's a satellite facility that releases a portion of those fish too. So this is where our kind of main harvest fishery occurs.
Summer steelhead, how are they different from winter steelhead?
So summer steelhead actually enter the freshwater as an immature fish. So their gonads aren't fully developed at the time, so they're not full of eggs. If you go down on the Grande Ronde in late September and catch a hatchery hen and take her home and harvest her, you'll actually find really small eggs in her that aren't fully developed, so the ovaries won't be fully developed, where the winter fish that you'll find on the coast are typically fully developed before they enter freshwater. So our fish are entering freshwater in the summer and overwintering, and they'll start spawning here in the next few weeks and go into May. And so they hold and mature in freshwater. Early in the season, you'll get some pretty bright fish, but they're not going to be nearly like you see on the coast. They're starting to get a red stripe down their side and real red opercle plates. Starting to get the spotting on them. Later, when you get around this time of year, you'll start to get some really colored up males. The females tend to hold a little less color, but the flesh quality tends to not be as good as the males.
And then fly fishing for steelhead up on these rivers. What do you do different up here, if anything, than you would, say, fly fishing the coast?
Yeah, so it depends on the time of year. The Grande Ronde in the fall, we like to swing a lot of spay flies. Fish can be pretty aggressive. It's one of the more popular places to catch steelhead on the surface on skated flies, especially before the water temperatures drop. As the water temperatures cool off, I start to move into slower water, fish really slow presentations. I don't swing as much. It becomes a nymphing game typically. Fishing small flies. I've caught steelhead on just regular trout flies down to size 14, so they'll eat some pretty small stuff. So fishing smaller flies in the 8s and 10s and really slow presentations. Try to find tail outs that are really froggy, spots you wouldn't typically feel like you'd fish for steelhead in, but they hang back sometimes. And then as we move into the spawning season, these fish will start pushing up and they'll be a little more active, and they'll be higher up in the holes a lot of times in faster water, more oxygenated water, as they're kind of making their moves upstream. They're not sitting back in those resting spots anymore, conserving energy. Rainbow. Nice rainbow. It's a good fish. Not a steelhead.
If somebody got a wild steelhead, how would you handle it from this point?
So right now you can see, especially with it being cold out, I'm keeping this fish down because my guides are freezing up. So if you hold the fish out of water for too long here, you're risking some frostbite for this fish because it's already cold, so it's going to freeze a lot quicker. So I'm going to keep him in the water, or her. And unfortunately, this is where I get to get wet. So that's where having a nice big net comes in handy. Keep that fish in the water. And so if I was gonna take a photo, especially on a cold day like this, we're gonna do it real quick. And this is where you just kind of got to sacrifice yourself a little bit and know you're gonna be cold. But I'm gonna take this fish. If I wanted a photo, do a real quick photo, and then we're gonna get rid of that fish and let him get back to doing his thing. So pretty quick like that. Yeah, I've always worried, you know, in our fisheries work during the winter and stuff about when we're out here in the cold like this, letting those fish freeze. So if it's, you know, not as quite a big a deal if we get up in the 40 degree, 30, you know, above freezing, but when you got really cold air temperature, we're probably in the low 20s right now. So trying to keep those fish from freezing up. So the steelhead nymphs I'm using are generally a tungsten head. A lot of times they have a bright bead. The tungsten bead will be a bright color, orange or pink, sometimes green. If we got really low water conditions, I'll go to something that's a little more natural color, but typically has some kind of bright spot on it to get them interested. Stoneflies work pretty well around here with some kind of hot spot on them. I will also fish woolly bugger with a bright bead on it. Those are great because you can dead drift them, you can twitch them, you can swing them, you can do lots of different things with a woolly bugger. So, and of course it's popular everywhere for everything, so they're easy to find.
What's the presentation like on something like this?
Sure, it depends a little bit. When we're nymphing, it's going to be a lot like just trout fishing. Nice slow dead drift, a little bit of an upstream cast. Throw a mend in there to let those flies get down deep, get in that strike zone, and then just really slow presentations with no drag. You want absolutely no pull on that line or anything, and so you're really maintaining the same speed of the water, trying to get those fish to eat something that's pretty natural. Once in a while you can get them to chase something, but this time of year when the water's cold like it is today, you really need that slow presentation, small flies. So today I'm fishing a 7-weight, 9-foot 7-weight. It's a little on the faster end of the 7 weights. For these fish around here, it's pretty good. Bigger fish can put a pretty good bend in it. A lot of people like an 8-weight. Even up to a 9-weight sometimes. There's a few guys that'll fish faster 6 weights, but they're fine for our one salt fish, but you get a little bigger fish and it gets a little tough on them. But I really like this 7-weight. This is my go-to rod for down here, a quick 7-weight. I really like fly fishing just because I like casting, honestly, the type of casting you do. I feel like you can fish some of the smaller water a little more effectively, so sometimes we'll get in these spots where it's a little shallower and fishing gear in there you'll tend to spook the fish a little more. So you can play this little more delicate presentation, get into those tight spots. You know, fishing the smaller flies, not beating the water up so much. That's kind of what I like about it. You know, I've even gear fished though and thrown nymphs on below my jigs and stuff. So like fishing the flies. I think flies it's like fishing a bead a lot of the time. It's particularly effective just if you want to get small when these metabolisms are down. So.